fire has destroyed a historic ballpark. The Jay Littleton ballpark is nearly a century old and has been used in movies like A League of Their Own.
Flames ripped through Jay Littleton Ballpark overnight, burning through every corner of the historic stadium. History for the locals, but also the world of Hollywood baseball films like A League of Their Own.
Welcome back to Magic in the Noise. Today we're going to talk about the results of our near future events predictions that we're calling prescient perceptions.
Yeah, I don't know if I can repeat that, so I'll let you communicate that to the audience when it's necessary. We have a interesting future event that we both had pieces of information. Sasha really nailed it. However, I will admit that it was awesome. And it was associated with a stadium fire was what we both saw. However, before I get into that, I think I'm going to back up a little bit and talk about our approach to this process. So when we had thought about moving forward and doing future events, we thought about some of the shortcomings that we see. One of the things for me specifically I do not like is that, not that people aren't actually getting NFEs, they are getting them. It's awesome. I appreciate the work that everybody has done on that effort. But the thing that I do find to be weak sometimes is the ambiguity that is within the session work, where you can have a piece of data that's ambiguous enough and then they try to apply it to 50 other potential future targets that actually do occur, right? I don't like that. So from my mindset or perspective, I feel like here at Mint, we need to try to focus on obtaining specific pieces of data, names of the individuals involved, organizations, location data, dates. We have to have 2 or 3 specifics in addition to anything else that we might pull for to describe the event. So it's very clear if it's a hit or miss, because if I miss, I'm okay with it. But if we hit and we have very specific pieces of data, like we nail it on the date, we nail it on the location and the general concept of what the event's supposed to be, it's like that clearly is a hit, right? There's less gray area. So that's the approach that we're kind of taking, and we're in the experimental stage. So we're just in the very, 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 very beginning of this process. And our focus point has been to leverage what we've learned from pulling the numbers for sports betting and financial assets, which you can see on the past videos.
Yes, so agreeing with David, yes, we're trying to be more specific. We think that the value of a near future event is more than just proving that psi ability exists. If you're just looking to prove that we can be psychic, then you don't need to be so specific, because as long as something happens, in the next 6 months that kind of matches your data, that might be fun and entertaining and maybe prove, I have some psychic ability. We're trying to do something different here. We are trying to always improve upon, I guess, what exists and push our own boundaries, our own limitations, and we're trying to make remote viewing as useful as possible. And one of the ways that we're trying to do that is just by increasing the specificity of our NFEs. We think that we can reach a high level that would maybe start getting us to the point where people can respond to the prediction, maybe prepare for an event, or even maybe, protect against it, or something to that effect.
In this particular case, Sasha and I both got the concept of August 23rd is the date. There was a stadium fire on the night of August 22nd at 11:30 p.m. at night. And the firefighters were on site. They were obviously still working on that fire as it crossed over into midnight. So to me, I consider it to be a hit, definitely, in terms of locking down on the time element. Sasha also got the location data in multiple forms, and that was what was interesting, because she doesn't necessarily live in the United States, and she's not overly familiar with the geography. She pulled the word Pasadena, which everybody in America knows is associated with California. She also had some partial words like Clare, and it turns out the adjacent city to Pasadena is Claremont, and where the fire took place is Ontario. So you had Ontario, Claremont's like right here, Pasadena's just a little bit further away. They're basically very close, like I don't know the miles, but it's probably within 15, 20 miles tops of the actual event location. What's your thoughts on this target, Sasha?
It was really interesting, and you're right that I don't know what state Pasadena is in. I've heard the name of it as a city, maybe in movies or something, so I'm aware that Pasadena is a city name, but that's about all I knew. And so I'm surprised and shocked myself. And I really tried hard to narrow down the name of the city. And so for a first try, I'm happy with the results. I think that, getting some of the towns that were close by and getting the fact that it was a stadium, it's exciting to see when that happens and it comes through. It was hard to do. It was hard to kind of narrow down and focus on the audio and then trying to sound it out. But I think it was worth it for the results.
We don't necessarily expect that the data will all be accurate, right? But we're looking for enough specifics that you can tell that it's definitely associated with a particular event. Then you look at the rest of her data. She's got a stadium fire, which I also had the concept of. She had the idea of white women specifically who were under threat from this fire, and it turns out that the stadium is famous for a particular film, which is, Sasha?
A League of Their Own, which is about an all-female baseball team. So that was such a funny hit.
Yeah, I thought so too. So this is kind of like the data coming through as an analogy, right?
Yeah.
Trying to express itself, and that's how it came through.
And emerging nearly of the data, because I had the data about, these women, and then the data about the fire, and so it came through as the women burning and on fire, but I can see the data still fits the actual event. So that was kind of funny to see.
Yeah, and there's, just to be clear, there were no people at the site when it was burned down, so nobody was affected that way. Did you want to say anything else about the specifics that you got in the session?
Oh yes, the mapping. So I tried to draw a map and I tried to focus. I split my map of the United States in quadrants, and I thought, okay, is it in the northern half or the southern half? Is it in the eastern half or the western half? And I kind of drew a line to where it felt like the event was taking place, and that was in the southwest corner. And I'm surprised to see. And one of the things, I tell this to my students in my class: when you smooth your session, don't remove data. Just if your snowman has 3 buttons in your raw page, make sure he has 3 buttons in your smooth page, because it might seem like an irrelevant detail, but that might be the key to something. And of course, when I did my smooth page, I kind of did like it looks like I'm crossing out the country, the map, because I was like, I don't really know. But in my raw data, it was there as well. And so I should have not scratched on it a little bit for my smooth page, because I was feeling more hesitant about it, because the location was so close to Ontario, California. And there was something about the highways as well, right? It's more of a near hit. I kept getting Route 67, Interstate 67, and I've seen in movies or kind of in the media, I think there's something about maybe Interstate 67. I don't really know, but it was you that was able to kind of decode that.
Yeah, there's a famous old highway in the 50s. It was called Route 66. It's super famous, and it actually turns out, which I thought was very interesting, is that the route actually goes through Ontario, Claremont, and you got Pasadena. Route 66 goes through all 3 of those cities. So that was an additional marker that you had the location correct. One of the things that's lacking with near future events currently is that there's not analysis being done pre-event. So one of the things that Sasha and I are very much focused on is both the pulling of the data for the future event and getting specifics, but then using that information combined with analysis to hopefully get down a path of repeatability where we can give some insight.
We're just very excited. I think for a first try at a high specificity NFE, I think it came out really well. I'm happy with the results. I think we both did really well on this one. So I'm excited to be sharing it.
Yeah, good job, Sasha.
Good job, David.
All right. Till next time.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.